Boom.
Here we are, episode 4 of Somebody's Son. I really can't believe it. This time we have the man, the myth, the legend, Unc as I call him, Mr. Keith Pelzer. I'm gonna let him introduce himself, but I gotta tell y'all, I just think he was the coolest dude when I was a young boy in the world. Cause I would always see pictures of like Steven Seagal. I would see like all these celebrities and stuff like in the photo books. Yeah, no, it really, and I just think he was just the coolest dude. So we got to give a huge shout out to Mr. Pelzer here, man, in the Combo Lounge once again. And before we get into it, I do have to just say an immense thank you. I have nothing but gratitude for you, my man, for letting me do this. This has been a very trying time in my own personal life, and this has been a kind of a form of therapy for me. So thank you for opening your home and your space and the studio, the Combo Lounge to me. And I mean, it means more to me than you know. Like I said, man, my family, my grandparents, my mom, my girl, Kirk, Ron, everyone has helped me during this time. And you have also been one of the people that has like really helped. And I'm grateful for all of y'all. But I just want to say thank y'all. Thank everybody. And thank you too, my man. So please give the people now an intro into who you are and a little bit about yourself.
I'm just a nobody trying to tell. No, listen, I'm just Keith Pelzer. It's funny because I was a pastor, songwriter, producer. Well, I still am songwriter, producer, but I was pastoring for over 12 years.
Wow. Wait. One of my favorite songs. You got some plaques over here, man. Can you give the people a little bit about what you got? These are about the plaque. You know what? I'll do this right here. I'll hit that right there. No, that's not that one. I gotta find it. Okay.
There's some plaques over there. Dude, where did that shot come from? I like it. I don't even know where that shot came from. But nonetheless, it's some plaques behind him. I can't find it. We'll give it to you for overlay.
What's the song that Jill Scott, we was talking about it last week?
He Loves Me and Cross My Mind. You like Cross My Mind.
Both of them, man. He Loves Me. Those are some of my favorites, man.
Yeah.
Those are some good ones, man.
But that's in the producing, the songwriting part of me, which all stems from being a PK, being in church, learning how to play music and whatnot. But that's just me. Husband and one wife, of course. We used to say that. Don't need to say that, but that's like an old Baptist thing.
Okay.
Bertina Pelzer, 2 sons, Isaiah and Caleb.
Right.
Ironically, same name as one of my best friends and brothers in the ministry.
Right.
Your uncle Rashid and his son Caleb, my son Caleb.
There's a lot of people named after each other in this circle.
Yeah, a lot of people in this circle. How about that? You know? But that's pretty much it, man. I'm 52 now, going on 53. Right. I don't mind saying that. And I'm trying to look like a fit 50, you know what I mean?
Definitely fit 50. This man cycles like no tomorrow.
And now with the pandemic, the creative part of me has jumped into videography and more photography, because I've been doing photography for a long time.
Okay.
I just wasn't calling myself a photographer. I never dug in. But doing pictures, I've been doing that forever.
Okay.
Doing video, I've been doing that forever. Now I'm into the equipment and stuff of it, because I like kind of backed off of music, and we just recently closed our church.
Right. So we gonna get into all that stuff.
Okay. So that's the overall.
That was a great intro. I mean, like I told y'all, man, this dude, first off, for someone who just jumped into the space, this is an amazing space. I mean, the feedback that I've gotten has been phenomenal. So again, thank you, man, because you did the thing.
Gotcha.
But
thank you.
We like to start off. Well, I like to start off these now with the get to know you portion of the pod, the conversation.
This the hard part, right?
No, this is the easy part. It's easy. So real quick, if you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One meal for the rest of my life? So it could be like a plate.
Yeah.
Rice, kale greens, and fish.
Okay. That's a healthy. That's how you fit 50 right there. That's how you do it.
I can just keep doing
Any specific type of fish?
No, not really.
Okay.
No.
Which superhero?
As long as it's not tilapia.
Oh yeah, I don't eat that either. We don't eat any genetically modified. As long as it ain't tilapia,
I'm cool. Everything else,
things like that. No.
I'm good.
All right. Which superhero would you choose to be for a day?
Superhero, for the day. You know what? I would say Spider-Man.
Okay.
Right, because I'm not too much caring about flying.
Yeah.
But if I could just like crawl up a wall,
Yeah, no.
you know what I mean? Throw
No.
my wrists out and swing across,
That'd be
troubled waters, I'm good. So,
Yo, that's my favorite. That's one of my favorite characters. Spider-Man and Wolverine.
yeah.
Like Superman, I feel like is an easy pick.
Wolverine's kind of violent to me,
Yeah, he
because I'm
is,
like,
he
the way
is.
people make me feel sometimes, I'll be fighting with the,
I know, but he lived a long time too.
yeah,
You know,
that's
'cause
true.
He
I like
got
it.
the
You
he
get
can
cut, it
regenerate.
just-
Yeah,
Yeah.
regenerate. What's the most unusual item you carry with you every day?
Most unusual item. I would say a comb now.
A comb.
I was combing
over
my
your
beard. Yeah, that's
That's cool.
unusual, but I'm always reaching, grabbing the comb.
Yeah, I see people with brushes and stuff, but
Yeah.
I mean, unusual
Yeah.
maybe. If you were a hashtag, what would you be?
Hashtag sneaker preach.
Sneaker preach? Why is that?
Cause it's in me.
Yeah.
I'm going to always find a sermonish way to say something.
Okay.
Or I'm going to find something. So deep inside, without getting deep, I have like that. I really believe in the ministry of reconciliation.
Yeah.
So it's so much confusion and stuff around. I'm always sneaking or preaching it because I believe that a good sermon, right? I'm talking Jesus sermons,
Yeah.
not old Baptist, Kojic, whatever,
Yeah.
preaching now that we have long-winded. I'm talking like a Jesus sermon kind of like gets right to the
Direct.
point.
Straight to the point. I
And
like
you know what
that.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it hits to the heart and we done.
I like that. I mean, no, I think that's what, and we'll get into that. I think that's the issue with our generation now is we sat through so many long. I mean, no shade. Like I love my grandfather.
Let's
that
talk real.
Yeah,
right,
no shade.
right.
I love my grandfather.
Yeah.
It was just that I feel like we were just in there all day, and it's just like, yo, all right, let's get to the point. And I
Get
think
to the
that
point.
too. A lot of times we were younger, people didn't think we were actually paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Because we might be sitting there and like be looking off, but I was always paying attention.
Right.
I was listening to what was being said. It left a mark. I mean, it helps with my own faith to this day.
You need a real.
I do. Oh yeah, coffee connoisseur. Maybe this should be the most unusual. Everybody just gonna pop coffee.
I'm going to make coffee. I'm going to make coffee. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah, that's that. What's your most unusual talent?
Most unusual talent. I would say telling stories.
Okay. Why is that unusual though?
No, let me backtrack.
Okay.
Not telling stories. Unusual talent is figuring things out.
Okay. No.
Like I'm talented in figuring things out. Like if there's a problem, I will sit up all night to figure it out, and when it's done right.
Yeah, that's why you and my uncle are friends.
Okay. Oh yeah. That's
I
my
have
guy.
that same thing in me. I'm like, I can't move on to the next thing a lot of times. I mean, maybe a lot of people don't have that gear, but I will sit with stuff and just be like, no, I gotta figure it out. Like it's hard for me to walk away. Sean is big on like, yo, just like come back to it tomorrow. And I'll be like, I want to do it now.
Right. Right.
But no, that's cool. If you could swap lives with any historical figure for one day, who would you choose?
Swap lives with a historical figure.
Yeah.
That's rough. It's kind of easy to say Martin Luther King, President Obama.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of someone else, historical figure. Wow. Can I pass on any?
You can pass.
I gotta pass on that.
Yeah.
That's rough because anybody I can think of, you think about their shoes.
Yeah.
The height of it is great, but the low of it is woof.
Right. I mean, I think,
Anybody respectable to me.
yeah.
Historical figure. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
then-
kind of rough for me.
To do anything great, I feel like you gotta have some level of like your down has got to be just as big as
and it's
how
kind
being
of
up.
because the couple of people that came to mind, I was just like, I don't know if I want that part of the
Yeah,
smoke.
yeah. It's only a day. I think I can stomach 24.
You said for a day, but I'm like,
I'm like, I
geez.
could probably stomach 24.
Then at that point, I would go to President Obama
Okay, all right. That would actually be an interesting like spot to be
for
in.
a day. Yeah, I
For a
could take
day.
President Obama. Yes.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. If you were a kitchen appliance, what would you be and why?
A kitchen appliance, I would say a countertop oven.
A countertop oven.
Yes,
Okay.
because you're more significant than the other thing that's just like you, because you have the big stove, right?
Uh-huh.
Oven, and a lot of times people, they want to put like just a couple of pieces of chicken or just fish in the oven, and you don't want to have to take the whole big old oven, fire up the heat or whatever, so you go right to the small oven. Then we don't want it too fast, so we don't need the microwave, because that's kind of like cheesy, right? So the countertop oven, I have a Breville.
Okay.
And that's the most important piece in our kitchen. It toasts, it cooks, it heats, it broils, it warms, it does all of that, and it only takes up a little amount of space, but it's the most significant piece in our kitchen.
I like that. Yeah, you see, we switched that from utensil to appliance.
Oh, listen, everybody's saying that.
Everybody said appliance anyway. So
ladies and gentlemen, I had a cheat sheet because everybody come in here talking about, he said appliance, and they go, a knife, a fork. It's like, ain't that a utensil?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Well, listen, also, that was Shawnee's calling me. I guess, I hope it wasn't too bad, Sean. I told her we were interviewing. So it happens. Kids got to get out of school soon.
We can always hit the pause button.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
We should do this live. Go ahead.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received but ignored?
Ooh. To be reminded that people are going to do what they want to do. My mother told me that long time ago.
Yeah.
She's like, let me just give you some advice. Always remember that people are going to do what they want to do.
Right.
Now, it took me time to understand what she meant by that, but it was clear as I gotten older, because you fighting, teaching, leading people, and you never give yourself that space to say people are going to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And you can't always predict what they want to do. So they'll ask you questions knowing, hey, I want to do this. We candid here, right?
Yeah.
So when you're trying to talk to your homies, they want to smash that joint.
Yeah.
They go, you can talk to them all you want.
Right.
And they will be like, you right. Yeah, that's dope. And then they go, yo, man, what happened was somebody that want to whip somebody behind.
Right.
They've made up in their mind, and no matter how much of the right thing you say, they're still determined to do it because people are going to do what they want to do.
Right.
And that's one of the best pieces of advice that I try to push through. And that's something what we just talked about, what you said with my dad, your grandpa, and pastors of yesterday.
Yeah.
We're going to preach for 50 minutes. And at the end of the day, we still did what we wanted to do.
Right. No, that's real. I mean, that's the beauty of just people in general, though. I mean, I'm never surprised anymore.
Right.
Like, I'm always just like, interesting choice. But I think that's something, I know that's something that my uncle was big on, is like, I'm not going to concern. All I can do is love you and show up and do the things that I'm going to do. Do the things I say I'm going to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's why I love Rashid Coleman.
And whatever you choose to do outside that, that's on you. That's your journey. You know what I mean? There's so many lessons that like I've gleaned from him over the years, or learned from him over the years, that like I tell him all the time, I don't know what I would do without having him. He's always such a like consistent, calm, just like rock. You know what I mean? He's solid. And I think too, as men, when you're going through things, you don't always think like, man, let me call my uncle, or let me call my grandpa, or let me. But for me, I'm very grateful that like I can have tears in my eyes and I can call them, and not that I know everything is gonna be okay, but like I love y'all, man, for real.
Nah, that's my guy, man. I know this ain't about him, but I'm just gonna say you already did your episode with him, right?
Yeah, we gotta redo it this way.
Okay.
We gotta do it this way.
Okay, so we gonna do it again.
Yeah.
Y'all gotta watch the episode with Rashid Coleman. Okay. I'm just saying.
Rashid K.
Can I throw a plug? Yeah.
Rashid K.
Coleman. Because I be getting them too confused. I be calling him. I called him one time trying to call you. And it was like funny because he like, you ain't mean to call me. I was like, well, since I got you on the phone, how you doing?
Right. Well,
sorry, bro. I love you, man.
Let's start there. So you said y'all all grew up in the church together. How was that? Like, how did y'all forge y'all bond outside of both just being PKs? Preacher kids, if y'all don't know that, PKs.
Well, for your uncle and I would say it's the music.
Okay.
Right? So there's the commonality, we're preacher's kids.
Yeah.
Got it. Then we in church. Then we talented. You know, your mom, great singer. My sister, great singer. Yeah. So there's the PKs that sing well. Then there's the other sibling that's the musician. Yeah. So you got singer, drummer. You got singer, keyboard player.
Yeah.
We got that in common. Then there's that we're human. Right. The cool thing is your grandfather, my dad, they backgrounds ain't squeaky clean. Right.
No,
So the good news is they got a little hood in them. So it's like, don't mess with my kids.
Yeah.
And you like, okay, I can relate because he homeboy. You get into trouble.
Right.
The reverend is like, yo, do I need to go do some ghosts and Tommy joint? You know what I'm saying? Like, they was them kind of pops to us.
Yeah.
So there's that natural outside of church life that we had. And then just cutting across the field, your uncle and I, we were both talented and we were received secularly as well.
Got you. Okay.
But we known as the preacher's kids, but it's like, oh, we can do hip hop, R&B. We know how to work equipment and stuff, you know, Reg and all the different people. We all knew each other outside of church as well.
Got you. Yo, those were some great times. One thing I can say that I enjoyed, because at the time, I mean, the way church was kind of presented to us was like something that you had to do. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't something that I was looking forward to every week, but I did enjoy the music. And in some version of my life, I'm a musician somewhere. I mean, I think that's where my love for music is as deep as it is. I mean, my grandpa, my uncle, I mean, I remember him put me on a Grand Piano Canyon and like just different music, different albums. Like it made me thirsty for more in terms of that. Like even now, like I listen to some of everything. You know what I mean? And I think that all started
with video and photography though.
That
surprised the heck out of me, but it didn't surprise me because I think our families have been blessed with talents and skills.
No, for sure. I can't overstate how grateful I am to be in the family I am. Yeah. And like a lot of times I used to ask that question, like I would even ask God, like, why am I in this family?
Yeah, like what am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I feel like I just didn't fit in a lot of the time. Like I felt like I mean, I could always love what people want hooping or I mean, I was always an avid learner, reading a lot, but church was not my jam at the time. And I think that the way it was presented, it just wasn't something that I wanted to do because it was for me, my experience at the time was not church being about having a relationship with God. It was about follow these rules, don't do this, don't do that. So when I'm having thoughts about things or I'm thinking about like, dang, I like this girl, but am I supposed to say something? And I mean, now my hormones are raging. I want to have sex, but who do I talk to about this? Because I don't want them to think that like I'm gonna sin and go to hell immediately. Like that was kind of like what I took it as. Whether that was what the intention was, it was a very fire and brimstone way to approach religion and Christianity. And at the time as a child, you kind of group all those things together.
Yes.
Right? Like so I'm over here like, okay, religion, church, Christianity, this is all one and the same. But then I got friends outside of here that are Muslim or that I met on a trip somewhere or that don't look like me, come from the same background. And I'm just like, well, man, everybody's condemned that. Like I just had so many more questions. And that's where kind of like, there wasn't division. It was just like, I didn't even feel comfortable asking the questions because I didn't want to offend anybody because of what the guy that was placed in front of me was. Yeah. And this is a bit of a tangent from what I thought he was going to talk about, but we here. There was something that you said the last time, and I really could not wait to get back to it. And it was about you talking about how an improper fear of God was instilled. And your take on that and your approach to how you kind of like to discuss faith, God, in your way. So could you talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so trying to think about it and pick up on it. I remember with Sean in here, the thing that we all talked about was in our coming up, you don't ask why.
Right.
You just accept what I told you.
Right.
And then there comes a point where we look at, well, what you told me, you don't even have the why to it, right? Like if you had the why, it's the old story. I'm gonna do my quick sneaker preach and I'm gonna jump right into the answer.
Do your thing.
It's the story that's told of, well, why do you put a cut ham in a big oven? And it's like, you know, you bring a ham home and it's not cut and you don't see that bone inside all the pink. I don't eat pork no more, but if you didn't see that, it ain't really like a legit ham. Okay. And the question was actually, you know, why you do that? It's like, because that's the way mama did it.
Right.
Then you ask, well, mama, why you do that? Because that's the way grandmama did it. Why, grandma, why you do it? Like, because that's the way my mother did it. Yeah. And it's like, you kind of like, the why is still missing.
Yeah.
Well, the story is told that the reality was the ovens were so small that you had to cut the daggone thing in half to fit it in the oven. It wasn't because it make it taste better or the other side of it was bad or the other half was wrong. And it's like when you end up finding out the actual why, it jacks up the generational answers of number one, don't ask, and number two, my only answer is because they did it that way, and they didn't pass down the why, because then when the ovens got bigger, then you don't have to do it that way anymore. So now when somebody asks you why you do it that way, you can't just say don't ask, or because my mama did it that way. You can say, because you know what, I like the way they did it, but you don't have to cut it in half. I like the way they did it, but you can use a whole ham. Like that's the kind of thing. So to get to the improper fear of God, this is what God gave me today. We've gotten so far. We've been chasing incorrection so much that we're bearing the burden of incorrections and dealing with carrying incorrections and fighting with incorrections that we don't even know how to carry the cross. And when we look at Jesus, all of this stuff that we have, and I'll throw a quick word out there since we canned it. One of the main things that everybody's fighting over, it deals with the word phobia, right? So you got homophobic, something phobic. We can add a bunch of things and put phobic on the end of it, right? Here's the thing. When you think about the gospel didn't actually deal with the phobias, right? Because I can have arachnophobia. That don't mean kill every spider. Right? It don't say make spiders extinct, because you need the spiders to help with the bugs and control other things. You can have another phobia. That the phobia doesn't mean you got to kill it. So the gospel never dealt with attacking phobias. Right? Phobia is what it is. But the thing is, the gospel's dealt with if you deal with the cross first, spend more time on the cross, you don't have to deal with all the other stuff. And the problem with church is built around this improper fear of God, in my opinion, of rules and regulations, where we've seen churches become modern day scribes and Pharisees, right? They become modern day, they say, oh, we close it with the cross, but early he got up with all power. And then to open the doors of the church, what does it do? Just come as you are. But then the very next day, you can't drink, you can't do that, you got to get rid of your lover, you got to do this, do that. We force that rather than believing that the power of the cross will shape it into whatever it needs to be. And this is where I do stand with people with, if we learn love, right, and we learn accept us for who we are as a person, let the Holy Spirit handle what the doing of the person is. Because if I love you and you respect me, certain things you're not going to do around me, but when you leave, you can continue to do it.
No, right. I mean, I think that even just getting back to that, the hardest part with even just getting back to love is people don't even know how to love themselves. So how can you then sit and ask someone to be loving to other people when they're still dealing with finding a way to even look at themselves in the mirror and be okay with what they see? And I think, too, a lot of that comes from, again, when you're throwing all that stuff onto you, like, dang, you just start feeling like I'm just this terrible person. Like, how do I then come out of this? Like, what do I got to do? And then it becomes, in my mind, in my opinion, it just becomes performative. Like, you just start trying to do stuff to just prove that you're this person instead of just living and just being someone who's loving. And that's something that I'm trying to do now. Like, I done the full gamut. You know what I mean? Up, down. I done been through it a lot. I won't say it all.
Well, look at the problem with beating, right?
Oh man,
Look at the problem with beating. I believe that in from a cultural standpoint of view, I would watch moms that will leave out of church, go around the corner, smoke a cigarette. Right? You can smell alcohol in their breath. And if the kid did something wrong in the pew, I'ma tear that ass up when I get home. And I'm feeling for the kid like, you about to get a whipping from somebody who is incorrect themselves. Right? And it's like, and after a while, when you get older, you like, man, after a while, the beating gets so bad to the point where it's like, what do you do when the kid's praying that God take care of you?
Oof.
You see what I'm saying? But watch this here. We're listening to the preacher, and the preacher is saying stuff that we looking at mama or daddy like, yo, he talking about you.
Right.
And then I'm getting a beating because I threw a spitball in church.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting a beating like a slave. Like, Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
A lot of that gets passed down. And when it gets passed down, again, it's the ham in the oven.
Yeah.
I beat you because I got beaten.
Right. That's really all it is. Because I don't beat my kids. I don't put my hands on my children. Nope. I don't think that, I don't want anybody to put my hands on me. I'm not going to put my hands on them.
Right.
And I mean, when they were younger, my son is a little younger, so he's still kind of learning boundaries. He's learning boundaries. My daughter, though, I popped her one time and it killed me. And not even like a real pop, but like just I almost cried. I was like, yo, nah, man, I'm not doing this because I don't want to repeat that cycle. I feel like there are other ways that I can be creative that will help her understand discipline, right and wrong. And I fervently believe that people have an internal compass that lets them know what's right and what's wrong.
Do you hear what you just said? You believe.
Yeah.
So if we take this Bible that we all believe in, and all we can get is spare not the rod, there's something wrong with our belief.
Yeah.
And our belief is a statement I say, my belief controls my behavior. So if I believe that the only way to get correction is from beating, right, then my belief is going to show my behavior.
Yeah.
If I believe internally, right, what the Bible says, I believe that talking does it.
Yeah.
Jesus was the only one that got whipped, basically, right? Throughout what we're looking at. You know, there are other ones that were martyred, but Jesus got whipped. We thought they whipped him all night long. They whipped. Who else got whipped because they did something wrong or they needed to be corrected?
Yeah.
By other Christians. Who got whipped for correction? Yeah. So when you think about that, it's like, somebody has to ask the question, address the 300-pound gorilla in the room and say, let's do this. And so you're growing up, my growing up, our growing up, we couldn't ask the questions, as Sean said.
Yeah.
We couldn't ask questions. So then we don't get the answer. And then we live through holding on with questions. It's the same thing when people die now. The 300-pound gorilla in the room is, and it's easy for people to insert, I know they looking down from us from on high.
Yeah.
Don't be too quick. Just believe that. Right? Because then we wasting time for this preacher talking about John 14:6.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, even just...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to spin.
No, it's cool. Even just looking at it like, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't, there has to be, it's a quick and cheap option, in my opinion.
Yes.
It's like when you want a car, right? If you want the best car, you want to drive the best car. One, it's going to take you a little bit longer to get the money for it. And it's going to take a little bit longer for it to be produced. But it's going to be the best car. I can go get something cheap and quick right now. I can go get me a Kia or an old Toyota. They're going to run. They're going to do well. Right. But they're never going to be the Rolls Royce made by hand. So I think that's how I try to approach the discipline. It's like, it may take me longer. I may have to sit down and have this conversation 10, 15 times, sometimes, depending on what it is.
Right.
But it still is going to, in my opinion, eventually lead to a different result that may have longer lasting impact because and still be intact. Right. Because I took the time to do it. And so that's kind of like my approach. And I don't know if it's right or wrong yet. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but that's how I'm
here's the encouragement. Be confident, right?
Yeah.
Because, and I'm going to throw something out there that everybody like to use. God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind, right? You hear people say that. But there was always this fear that if I don't do my kids like I was done, that they're not going to turn out right.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely don't believe
that. So then it was that whole thing of like, exactly. So this is what I'm saying. Double down on what you do believe, right? Yeah. So inside, when you're like, I don't believe I got to do my kids like that, right? Double down on that belief and be confident in it, because I believe that we had a generation that appeared to be confident, appeared to not have fear, but actually had fear. Yeah. So the minute you see this kid looking at that kid, the boy looking at that girl, whatever, you had this fear that all hell is going to break loose. So you know, we get our first trip to Atlantic City. We just going to be a gambler and in a gutter somewhere drunk and all out, and the church ain't going to get no money because we gambled it all the way. It's like, dude, I just walked through the casino, played one slot machine. Like, I'm going to hell now? That's fear to me.
No, it is fear, but the lessons are instilled in you. I think that if you do a good enough job and if you have lines of communication open, like, I want my kids to get into something. One, I want them to get into something. I want them to live their lives. I want them to make some mistakes. I want that we're not perfect. I want them to do all those things, but I want their first call when they make that mistake to be to me.
Yep.
I don't want it to be to their friends or trying to get around it. And that's why I'm trying my best. And again, like I said before, I'm not perfect by any stretch of imagination, but I am trying my damnedest to make sure that they know that they could come to me about anything.
Yes.
And so that leads me to you had a point that I wanted to kind of talk about. You have 2 sons. With your faith being what it is, you know, being a believer.
Right.
How did you then navigate having conversations around dating, sex, relationships with your oldest son? Your youngest son is not there yet. Did you have a conversation? What was that conversation like? How did you approach it, being as though you are a man of faith?
Oh, wow. So it was a lot easier because, looking in the Bible, if you try to dissect it and look at ages and stuff, you had young people. Mary was young. You know, you get in the Old Testament, you got younger women and stuff. So I'm like, all right, there's that thought pattern of age, like how old, you know, can we be, how young? In Hollywood, we got people 20 years apart marrying and stuff like that. Like, you know, Jay-Z, Beyonce got a big stretch of age and all. So it's like, at what point is young too young? It's not that argument, but it's just like, it was the one day the awakening was, I had some of my youth in the car. And I'm like, y'all at the age now where, you know, something, and I think I mentioned porn and stuff, and they laughed at me.
Yeah.
You know why they laughed? And they said, let me help you out, Pastor. It was like, oh, that's old stuff. We on this now at 13.
Right.
I'm like, whoa, they looking like, they like, yo, let me help you out, OG. They was just like, we don't want you to be one of the preachers that's like, you know, y'all watching them R-rated. They like, we watching XXX stuff.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
So you get this awakening.
Yeah.
My youngest son, and I'll say this, my youngest son, we actually, so parents that don't know, if your kids got Discord, check Discord out. Like, just check it. And it's not that your kid is the problem, it's the space that they're in. Yeah. If you don't monitor it, there are predators and all in those spaces.
Absolutely.
And they're saying stuff that you don't even want your kid to hear, that they done heard it 15,000 times. Whew. And you sitting there like, wait, so this guy said this in the chat. You heard about, they like, yeah, okay. I mean, everything from anything sexual, your 9-year-old has seen it, heard it, or talked about it.
Wow.
To some extent.
Wow.
Hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To some extent. One kid looking over another kid's shoulder with their iPad at karate class in the summertime will see things that you don't know that your kid saw it until you ask.
Yeah.
So where they go from there, you only have the pattern of what's going on in your household to deal with it.
Right.
So the things we try to protect each other from back in the day, that stuff is like normality now.
No, right.
You see what I'm saying? So
the ease of information is just far too. It's far. They have access to everything.
So then I had to look at my own life.
Yeah.
I had to look at when I lost my virginity.
Yeah.
How I lost my virginity and all. And just say, out of all the teaching, out of all the correction and everything, back to what Mama said, I still did what I want to do.
Right. You're a human being.
Right. So we have the responsibility to be proactive.
Yeah.
But we also have a bigger responsibility to be reactive.
Yeah.
Right? The reactive part is, what do you do afterwards? You throw out the warning in front. It's like driving a car.
Yeah.
You speed, you're going to get a ticket. You still going to speed. You still gonna go over the speed limit.
Absolutely. Cars are built to go over the speed limit.
And you're gonna drive that way, and your son is never gonna say, hey, Dad, you know, I was driving 10 miles per hour over the speed limit. But you end up finding out when the cop pulls him over.
Yeah.
And you go, okay. And they go, so I got a ticket. You like, okay. We already talked about this.
Yeah.
So you know what it's hitting for. So if the boy gets the girl pregnant, or if something happens, if they catch something, whatever, we already had the conversation, but I'm not going to control you doing it, or because the more I tell you not to, the more you thinking about doing it.
Yeah.
So the approach now is the kids will ask you the question. Back to what we were saying with Sean.
Yeah.
They'll ask you the question. Don't be afraid to give the answer.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to say, hey, me and mom weren't virgins when we met.
Right.
Any other questions? I'm not asking you, do you have any questions? But you know the floor is open to if you want to ask questions. So now most people go, oh, was you a virgin when you got married? No.
Right.
Now you can say,
I'm definitely will not be.
Was you doing a lot before then? Why you want to know?
Right.
Well, I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm open. You can ask me the question.
Yeah.
Dad, did you ever go to a strip bar? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to a back on the avenue spot? I've been to one or two. You know what I'm saying? Now,
sure.
it's relevant to if you want to ask me what went on behind the closed doors.
Yeah.
I can talk about that. But sometimes that's just enough to say, Dad wasn't a virgin when he got married.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then if you ask me why, I can say if I could do it again, I'd rather have went to the altar clean.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. And here we are 21 years later, and we have a happy marriage. We good.
Right.
Sometimes that's all the kid needs.
Yeah, my mom at least asked if I was having sex when I was like 16. And at the time, I just laughed. I was like, we not having this conversation. But then eventually I did.
What was her reason?
Well, my mom had me young, so she didn't want me to have a kid before I graduated high school.
Gotcha.
That was her biggest thing.
And you get that, right?
Yeah, I got that. But I was just like, and then she's like, well, if you are going to have sex, please just use protection.
Boom. Thank you, Nina. That's it. What else can we do? What else can we do? Because you already, by the time she is comfortable enough to ask you.
Yeah.
Right? Or by the time you say something to her, by the time it just gets thrown on the table and both of y'all looking like, so, right?
Yeah.
You done did. We don't know how many times you hollered at 5 Jones by now. We don't know. You don't know. Kid.
I appreciate that.
Sorry, bro.
I was a handsome kid. I appreciate it. Nah. All right. So then, how did you navigate? Like you were in the church. You then go off. You were in LA, I assume.
I didn't move to LA. I just spent a lot of time.
You were out there a lot. How did that have any? Did that have any impact on your faith? Any impact on your mental health? Like, how did you navigate going from an environment that was very strict, very, this is what it is, I mean, kind of my way or the highway, and then show up in LA ready to work, ready to go, and being in that environment? Like, what was that like for you? Dude,
I'm going to put it to you. I'm going to keep this as short as possible. I just didn't give up.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it wasn't one of those rebellious, I don't give up. It was one of them, like, I was this silent, all right, you know how there's a lot you don't know about your uncle.
For sure.
And I know sometimes the question sits in your mind, like, what would he do if something broke out? And does this dude have a M16, a machete or whatever? Like, you don't know because he's calm.
Right.
He's the guy in the room that's not going to be like, oh, Negro, I'll kick you behind. He's not going to say all that. He's just going to be like, you don't know. It's people like that. I'm like that too with faith.
Yeah.
I don't get all up in airs and talk about people. And I like the fact that you asked me this question, because one of the number one questions I get from people who are still trapped in the pew that don't know how to be honest and say, I want to be out on stage.
Yeah.
And I want to sing R&B songs.
Yeah.
It's like I want to rap.
Yeah.
But I want to rap secular stuff. It's like, don't concede to doing holy hip hop.
Right.
Like, because at that point, to me, y'all forgive me, I'm just not a holy hip hop person. I'm sorry. I don't want to use the word corny. It's just that let rap be rap. Yeah, like just let rap be rap. You know what I'm saying? And if you want to talk about the Lord, have a conversation, but enjoy the life of rapping, because every great rapper is not rapping dumb stuff.
Yeah.
They educate it. It may not be the same money as talking stupid stuff, but at the same time, you can have a career in it. So we don't have Christian photography businesses. in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Don't that sound weird? It's like, do you do photos?
Yeah, no, my niche is the church.
Yeah, it's like that.
No one does that.
You see what I'm saying? That could be your niche, but the whole thing is, it's like you don't really have a Christian photography thing.
No,
like
I got you.
You have photography, so I'm like, be the artist. So for me, I'm like, if my parents were cool with it, and I'm gonna give them credit.
Yeah,
I believe my father, my mother, Mom, Deb, Uncle Gil, there was that. They could be seen as a little strict, but there was a little bit of grace there.
Yeah. That
wasn't so, oh, you can only do this and you can't do that.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just speaking on how I seen it.
Yeah.
I could always go to your grandpa and support, and he would celebrate me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. You work with Will Smith. You work with Jill Scott. Hey, nephew, son. It's like, and my mom and dad, like, it was just like, yo, just be the church on Sunday.
Yeah.
But the rest of it was like, do what you gonna do. You can bring the people in. I just don't want to hear all that cussing and stuff.
Gotcha.
So I'm cutting R&B music and going to choir rehearsal.
Yeah.
So by the time I leave out of town, I ain't worried about who I'm walking the studio with.
Yeah,
and I had me. So even like smoking weed wasn't, ooh, weed is bad. I'm just like, so the result of it is y'all like, yeah, nigga, ooh, yeah. I'm like, I can do that off of just being happy.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, for me, that don't work for me.
Yeah.
Drinking, same way.
Yeah.
I didn't care if people got drunk. I was in sessions with most of the white dudes we had sessions with. Them dudes drinking stuff that'll burn your whole chest apart. Yeah. But I'm like,
I feel
all right, I'll cling with y'all real quick and sip. But I'm like, I don't need another pour.
Yeah.
Because I don't, you know what I'm saying?
It's not your thing. Yeah.
I can find my own space.
Yeah.
I never wrestled with, ooh, God is mad at me.
Got you.
I mean, dude, I got 3 songs with Selena Johnson that's as dirty as they want to be.
Right.
Phone sex. Yeah. Another one, he laid me down, pulled my panties down. I'm like, damn, why you gotta say this on my song? And then the church people like, who you working with now?
Yeah, not even really wanting to tell them.
Yeah, you kind of like, you not knowing what to say. I didn't have a problem with that because I'm like, that's work to me.
Got you. So you was able to separate the two.
I totally, and I'm sorry I took 18 minutes to say that, but you're right. I was able to separate the two. Now, the people who say, well, you can't separate it, I'm like, cool. But you know what? 98% of those people was people that's like, y'all effing with the wrong Negro.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at you and I done got stuff on you from the pulpit to the back door of the church.
Yeah.
So that when you step to me and say, Keith, he out there with the sinful world, I'm like, dog. And you was half drunk preaching the other day.
Yo.
Or you smashing the joint. Like, listen, people, giving up. No, I'm not about putting tape out, but personally, what you're not going to do is attack me and throw out, because I'm working with Will Smith, I'm working with Jill Scott and doing this, that, and the third or whatever. Shoot, I had an edible. I was high as a kite.
Yo.
I told you that story. I was, and I don't have a problem saying it. So I can go and minister to young people that's like, their norm is we eat edibles, and I can be like, yo, it was real funny, but that was the dumbest place to be because I could have killed me and my wife that night.
Okay, wow.
That's the way I take the story.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? No, some of these older preachers that's in their 70s, 80s now, if they really, instead of preaching it, if they sat down like on The Chi, I watched The Chi.
Yeah.
And one of the best episodes is when they all said, we're going to leave everything outside these doors and we're going to have man talk in a circle where everybody can be open in a safe space. I think church needs to do that. And we don't need to throw flyers and a big ministry out about it. Yeah. Just make it natural to do.
Yeah, that's why I like having these conversations, man. I think that people just want honest convo.
Yep.
We don't want to have to worry about like, oh, if I say this, how people going to see me. Like, people really just want to be able to sit down, talk, and just chop it up, which is why I've enjoyed us being able to talk and honestly getting to know more about you over the course of these last few months that we've been, rocking. Honestly, started with photography.
Yep.
And then now, we've kind of come to this. So I think we've chopped it up about a lot. I think we definitely going to have to run it back at some point.
Got you.
I want to know, though, what is one thing, if you can go back to yourself at 18 and tell yourself one thing, what would you do? What would you say?
I would say be confident in what you're great at.
Okay.
And be more intentional about what you're doing. And at 18, don't be scared to go against the grain.
I like that.
Put love first, but then don't ignore your gut feelings.
That's a real one.
I think I ignored my gut feelings. Like when I finally closed my church, like I really know that I did God's people. I don't even want to use the word favor, but I know I helped a lot of people.
Okay.
Right? Because that place was a place that it just keeps stirring back up, or it's like a memorial. Right? It's like a person going back to a grave thinking their loved one is going to come out that grave one day. Right?
Wow.
It's like a grieving.
Yeah.
Grieving's not bad. Grieving is healthy. But in for the living in Christ, if you have a living space that's grieving, it's only hurting, it's not helping.
Got you.
And so if what I know now, if I knew it then, I would approach ministry different.
Got you.
I wouldn't have spent the years trying to build a music ministry to entertain the body and miss the soul. There's an illustration that I think a lot of pastors aren't seeing right now. The illusion that we have now is full pews is a sign of kingdom growth. The reality is kingdom growth is not full pews. We're forgetting the part that Jesus said that the gate is wide.
Yeah.
On the road to destruction, right? John 6:66 said there are those that turn, many turn and walk with him no more. Then you have the remaining, the growth that you even have in the New Testament, even though the numbers were getting big, that percentage didn't affect the whole world where it was a majority that's coming to Christ. It's a narrow thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning to live more because the more you deal with truth is very narrow.
Okay.
Truth is not wide. Truth is narrow. And so what I knew then at 18, my brain was on that. Like you said, as a young kid, we asked questions.
Yeah.
We just weren't able to get the answers we wanted.
Right.
Or that we deserved.
Yeah.
And so now for me, that confidence is I stopped blaming, or I wouldn't blame my elders as much as I did then.
Yeah.
To go through the part of anger, to go through the part of rebellion, to go through the part of this, that, and the third, and then really get confident in the love of Christ and just say, you know what? I got y'all.
Okay.
I'm not mad at y'all because the ministry of reconciliation doesn't beat at the past.
Right.
It just stands more hard on the truth that already existed and taking that forward. So back at 18, if I knew that then, I would be different right now.
Okay. And what piece of advice would you give to let's say, young people, somebody that might be watching this, a word of encouragement, or what is your word or mantra that you're living by in 2024?
Wow. Consistency. Right?
I feel that.
Consistency. The reason why I say consistency is I think everybody has that one moment, whether it's the top of the year, the middle of the month, the middle of the week, or something, that they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
The issue is when you're not consistent in it. So you take working out from me.
Yeah.
Working out has its benefits.
Yeah.
Eating more healthy has its benefit. The problem with everybody is they're not consistent in it.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to be consistent.
It's not.
It's some mornings I'm like, yo, but because my belief controls my behavior. This is the thing.
Yeah.
Double down on what you believe. Because if you double down on what you believe and you're honest about what you believe, then you actually do yourself a big service.
Right.
If you believe that, let's take guys, for example. If you believe having a joint on the side, another joint over here, and the main joint and all that, if you believe that, then do it and see how that works out for you. Yeah. It's a bunch of confusion.
Yeah, it's a bunch
but
of
if you believe this woman deserves my respect,
right,
or she deserves the truth, I can't be with one person.
Right.
If you believe that, then you say that, then everybody's clear.
Yeah.
And then that person will walk away. And if you got the best of all worlds, then you got 3-4 people in agreement that everybody just sharing the same person.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
for sure.
It's that kind of thing that make it make sense. So when you sit at the table Why do we wait for sickness to say, okay, I'm not going to name nobody. The beginning of the year, somebody passes away.
Yeah.
Everybody finds out why they pass away.
Yeah.
Oh, health challenges. Now everybody's on the Peloton.
Yeah.
But the problem is, give it about a month and a half later, after we done buried that loved one. Now we back to eating the same way, doing the same thing, and we not posting treadmill, we not posting gym.
Yeah.
Because we not consistent. So that's my word.
Yeah, I would say I think consistency is a good one. Even doing this is it takes time, it takes effort. Again, I'm grateful for allowing the space to be able to do so. But yeah, consistency is the word, y'all. So now y'all got it. This year, that's something that I'm working on. So I think this holds me accountable. The working out, like you said, you see the results. And it becomes more of a habit and a part of your life the more you do it. And that's something that like I want to make sure that I maintain. Operating at a spot, especially when I was in college, at like I feel like the highest level I possibly could, and then falling off the way I did, just drinking, eating crazy, eating all times of the night, it took a toll. And so I'm happy to be saying that now, that like just being consistent, now that kind of like fuels me. Like when I see, when I get on my Peloton and say a 21-week streak, I'm not messing that up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to keep it going. So consistency, y'all. Consistency is where for 2024. And that's that for episode 4. Thank you very much, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
No doubt. No doubt.
Right.
Whew.